All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about the thing that Ubisoft doesn't want to talk about, which is sales. Actual, real, physical sales, an idea of what we can get in terms of numbers in our mind and how the games are performing and all that stuff they don't actually want us to talk about because they're too busy announcing 3 million players across the world and across all platforms, but they never want to talk about sales. Sales is like basically Voldemort to them. They don't want to mention his name. You don't mention sales around Ubisoft. Well, we have sales numbers from Famitsu. So now we have sales numbers from physical releases in Japan. And I want to preface this by telling you guys the following. This is obviously physical sales only, number one. This does not include digital sales, which are the primary way that most people buy games. Just to be clear, okay? That's number two. Number three, keep in mind also, this is just Japan. This is not worldwide. Obviously, the cope right now is that Western games don't sell well in Japan. I have an argument for that later on in this video. Don't worry about it. But I just wanted to give you all that context before we eventually talk about now the full sales figures for Japan for this week. So let's get into this article, guys, from Gamatsu. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So again, Famitsu sales for the week of 3/17 to 3/23, with Xenoblade Chronicles absolutely destroying the competition at 74,689 retail copies sold. So let's take a look at this list, okay? Now, this list is very interesting to me because it just shows how unbelievably bad this game is performing right now. Now, keep in mind, there is a lot of cope that's going to happen from this list, and I get it. And that's why I tried to preface the entire thing by telling you that, listen, it's only physical sales. It is not digital sales, okay, number one. And number two, people are going to say, well, Western games don't do well in Japan. Well, I'm going to show you just exactly how well they do when you actually respect the place that you're trying to sell a video game to. But let's look at this list here. So we got number one on the Nintendo Switch, Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I've been told is a fantastic game. I have a Switch. I don't use it, to be honest with you, but I'm very tempted to buy Xenoblade Chronicles at 74,689, and it doesn't have an all-time number because it's a brand new release. Anything with new in parentheses is a brand new release, so it doesn't have any former numbers. Then we got on PS5, Atelier Yumiya, The Alchemist of Memories and the Envisioned Land from Koei Tecmo at 27,810 copies sold. That's also a brand new game. And then the same game on Nintendo Switch decided to get almost as close at 26,315. So Atelier is absolutely destroying it, man. It's at 50-something thousand copies. Actually, wait, no. With the PS4, it gets even higher than that. I'm going to keep going. So then we got at number 4, Monster Hunter Wilds, which has been out for a little bit now, is at 20,621 copies sold. And this game has been out for a while. Is at a total copies sold of 763,490 in Japan alone, and that is physical copies only. What an absolute destruction of a video game. Shout out to Monster Hunter Wilds, killing it. And then you got Ubisoft. You got Assassin's Creed Shadows at number 5 with 17,701 physical copies sold. There is no previous numbers because it's a brand new game. You got Nintendo Switch Mario Party at 9,214 copies sold, with 1.2 million copies sold total. And then we got Atelier Yumiya, again, on the PS4, mind you, at 6,949 copies sold. This game is killing it, bro. This game is absolutely killing it. Then you got Bleach Rebirth of Souls, which I got gifted to me. I need to check out immediately. 6,079 copies sold, brand new. Then you got Minecraft on the Nintendo Switch at 5,876 with almost 4 million copies sold. And then on Nintendo Switch, Donkey Kong Country Returns at 5,803 with 237,000 sold. So again, you're looking at this list and you're probably telling yourself, wow, Assassin's Creed got felted. But if you're a shill, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that doesn't include digital. Well, you're right, it doesn't include digital, and we're never going to know because unfortunately these companies doesn't like to be like Famitsu and they don't like transparency, right? These companies don't like transparency, so they're not going to tell you exactly how they're doing because it's not going to look good for them, right? It's not going to look good if they got to lie to you and tell you about players only for you to realize, oh, wow, it's only at 1 million copies sold, but you talked about having 3 million players. What's going on here? Why is that the case? Especially since Ubisoft just announced that they now had to form a subsidiary company with Tencent in order to save themselves. It's the absolute destruction with Ubisoft. It's crazy. But let's talk about Western games don't do well in Japan, right? Because that's obviously the cope that's going to happen here from a lot of people that desperately want this game to be a success, and they're believing everything that they're being told. If you look at this article here from the VGC from all the way back in July of 2020, Ghost of Tsushima breaks PlayStation sales record in Japan. Now, Ghost of Tsushima is a Western game that is also happened to be based in Japan, right? Feudal Japan. So when you look at this and you think to yourself, Western games don't sell well, I want to show you exactly just how well that they do sell. If you look here, this game sold 221,915 copies in the first week of release, comfortably surpassing the record previously held by Death Stranding, according to Famitsu. This game absolutely destroyed. What are you talking about? Western games are not successful in Japan. Are you fucking kidding me? I've had so many people leave comments about that. When I posted these numbers on Twitter, they're like, Western games don't do well in Japan. You can't use that as a source. What's wrong with you? And then you look at Gamatsu and you see these numbers. You're like, Assassin's Creed Shadows, 17,000 in its first week. It's not like this is 10 weeks from now. This is the first week, and it only sold 17,000 copies on PS5. I'm not even going to bother looking at the numbers for Xbox because nobody really cares about Xbox in Japan. You're never going to see Xbox really at a top list ever in Japan. Xbox gets felted by Japan over there, so they don't care. So, but this number, it's being carried by PS5, obviously, but 17,701 compared to Ghost of Tsushima that opened at 221,915 copies. So can we stop the whole nonsense about Western games don't do well in Japan when you know and I know that's absolutely bullshit? We all know that is not true in the slightest, and you're trying to make this as a thing, and it's not. You guys are coping. You're absolutely coping. Assassin's Creed Shadows refuses to talk about sales figures because at the end of the day, they know that the sales figures are not in their favor. If the sales figures were in their favor, if their sales figures were in the favor for the last year or two, they would not have been needing to make a company with Tencent for Tencent to buy them out essentially at 25% economic stake and give them $1.16 billion to save them. Right? They needed that $1.16 billion from Tencent in order for them to continue operating. Otherwise, it would be a major issue and they would get destroyed. But for them to maintain control over their company, they had to open a new company that they have control over just to get $1.16 billion in order to save them as a whole. So this company is proof that Ubisoft has not been doing well. Ubisoft has been struggling majorly, and Assassin's Creed Shadows is just going to be another game in their pipeline of failures that they have to add to Star Wars Outlaws, to freaking X-Defiant, to Skull and Bones especially. Now, Skull and Bones reportedly had a budget of over $600 million. If that's the case, if that's true, then that is a bigger loss for Ubisoft than even Assassin's Creed Shadows. Assassin's Creed Shadows is the most successful out of their failures, and that doesn't make it a success in general. It just makes it the biggest loser. That's all it essentially does. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.